Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the River. Boy, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. There's been press conferences. There's been articles in the newspaper. There's a whole bunch of things to talk about that, we've got to.
But you misunderstand me.
Huh?
But you misunderstand me.
Yeah. Our illustrious mayor has added another thing to his why I should not be in any leadership position, let alone the mayor of a city, by saying that, oh, well, I was misunderstood when I talked about the fire department, blah, 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 blah. And then he went on to go off on. So according to him, he never promised to bring the manning level up, even though. But he's got a plan, a 10-year plan. We're going to put 5 people on. Then 5 years later, we're going to put another 5 people on. And that's the way he's going to do it. So I don't know, Paul. You said, but I got to give you, I have to always give credit where credit is due. You did for once admit that you're bad with numbers.
Right.
That you don't know shit about the budget. Okay, you don't know nothing. I know nothing, even though the mayor's supposed to know. Maybe you're going to need help for interpretation, but it's your job to understand where the money is going. And if you don't, get somebody in a room to lock you in a room and explain it to you. But you did say that. So apparently you don't know numbers. The chief says he wants 200. Yeah, Tuscaloosa. That's what they get for living there, man. Okay, but the 10 people over 10 years. Even if you put those 10 people on tomorrow, didn't we were told they have 178 men on a department. The last time I checked, and I am pretty good with numbers. You're not, and it's pretty obvious that you're not. You're also not really good with understanding things like the 1710 standard, and you don't care. Last time I checked, 178 plus 10 is 188. So 10 years from now, we will still be 12 men under what they say they want now, which is still undermanned as far as I'm concerned. This is why this guy should never get close to anything. This guy is destroying the city. He's making his friends rich. He's got his corporation counsel in business now as a market rate housing guru. He's got all his friends making money. He's giving his friends the schools that used to be green spaces so they can bring in illegals and stick them in there, or people from the war college, because we're not getting anybody from Newton. This guy is I've never seen anything like it. I have never seen this guy is a bozo. He's a bozo. You're misunderstood. You're a school teacher and you can't speak English. The first trait a leader has to have is communication skills. What did Winston Churchill, when he led England through World War II, some of his quotes will live forever. They are living forever from World War II. When Winston Churchill said something, he made sure people understood it. You don't even understand yourself. How can you understand anything when you admit you don't know anything about it and you won't make an effort to learn it? You've been in mayor for 6 years, and the Herald News said you're running for a 4th term, period, because they can't find anything good to say. You haven't done a damn thing about homelessness. You haven't done a damn thing about affordable housing. You haven't done a damn thing about all the sexual harassment suits. You haven't done a damn thing about any damn thing. This is outrageous. How this guy could even be running. How he can look at himself in a mirror and run for mayor when he stands up in front of America and says, I don't know shit, but re-elect me. I'm a dummy. I never had a leadership position in my life. I have done nothing to show I have any leadership ability. But elect me for another term so I can make all my friends rich again and give out more pay raises. Go ahead, CJ. That's my rant to open.
That's it? That's all you had to say?
No, I got a lot more, but I got to give you some. I got to give you some. Give you some airtime. Go ahead, because I know you got a lot to say about this stuff too. So
it just makes me laugh because
to keep from crying.
when you look at some of these things and what the press is saying, okay? Incumbent Mayor Paul Coogan is seeking his 4th term as the city's top executive. He has been mayor since being first elected in 2019. Previously, he served as a school committeeman. That's it. That's all they said about him. That's all they said about him.
Oh.
You know?
Well, there's nothing else. I mean, there's nothing. There's an old saying that it doesn't apply to our show because we call the balls and strikes, and that's what umpires have to do. But there's an old adage about if you got nothing to say, nothing good to say about somebody, don't say anything about them, especially at their funeral. So, I guess that's what the Herald News thought about Coogan. It's like,
well, the interesting thing is when you read about some of the other people, okay, in January, Caesar, meaning Carlos, the former president of the Flint Neighborhood Association, announced on Facebook that his campaign will revolve around securing funding for city schools, making Fall River an affordable place to live, and supporting public safety. Amaral took to Facebook as well to announce his run for mayor, where his building campaign insists that he is the only candidate in the mayoral race, pledging to decrease the budget without putting the taxpayer and the first responders at risk. Amaral's previous runs unsuccessfully for city council in 2019 and 2023 and mounted a campaign for state representative in 2024 to replace Paul Schmidt. Failure. Okay?
Yeah, but he doesn't have a plan. He's going to reduce that.
No plan. Now,
and the only person who they said had a plan was
Carlos.
Good afternoon, Chris. Yeah, but listen, I mean, this is a disgrace. This guy he keeps adding to his resume of incompetence.
Yeah.
I mean, now he's, I wasn't clear. Well, you're not clear. Leaders have to be clear. If you talk, if they were landing a D-Day invasion and you were leading it and you run clear and they landed in Taiwan, we wouldn't have invaded Europe.
That's right.
It's like that old joke. It's what happened to the ice hockey team that had spring training on a lake in Europe. They drowned during spring training because nobody told them there was no ice there. So
exactly.
It's like, look, this guy's a total boob. He's been a boob his entire life. Let's face it. Paul Coogan never earned a job in his life. He never took a test. He never got he got a promotion politically. He got the job through Unky John. Unky John got him in the school department. Unky John got him the other job. Now he goes on and says, I was misunderstood. I don't understand this. I'm only a vice principal. Well, you got to educate yourself. You get a new job. You don't talk about your old job. You got to learn your new job. You got to learn your new job. When I took over the union, I didn't know all those laws, but I had to study them. I mean, this is nuts. This guy is the most incompetent, ridiculous excuse we've ever seen for a mayor. And the thing is, he tells you that in front of a camera and thinks that's an excuse. Well, Leaders don't make excuses. Leaders take the hit. Your team screws up. Vice principal. That's right. Vice, with the emphasis on vice. And it may be the other interpretation of vice, too. There's been a lot of vice during his administration. But the reality is that look at this guy. Look at him. Every promise. I got the promises here. I got the promises before he took office. I read them. And everything he said, he hasn't done. Nothing. And then he gets on and says, I don't understand numbers. Well, I don't care. I don't, I may not understand nuclear fission, but if we're going to invest in nuclear fission, I'm going to bring a whole bunch of experts in to explain the fundamentals and why what we're doing is correct. You don't have to be Alan Sylvia, not the state rep, the former Harvard MBA, former city administrator, first city administrator, who's brilliant with numbers. You don't have to be real good with numbers. That's why you have people. That's why a president has a cabinet. That's why mayors can call other people in and say, hey, I got to, I want, explain this to me. What's the best course of action? Why is it best course of action? Leaders have to lead. You don't sit back and let everybody just wallow away and do nothing, like the contract for $1.8 million that we're going to have next year to clean the ducts that have never been cleaned. I've got all the numbers right here. And it started at $798,401, and it's ending next year at $1.8 million. So it's like
the interesting thing that we have to worry.
But this is what this guy does. He sits on his fingers and he gives out jobs to his friends. Gives out jobs to his friends, makes his rich friends rich, gets them all the zoning, or gives them all the buildings they want for a song. And then he turns around and makes an excuse for everything. Well, what's the excuse from Malone? We have to keep in mind there's no policy. Yes, there is. I have confirmed that. There is the former policy that I had to give every year as a chief to every firefighter in my shift on sexual harassment is still in City Hall. It exists.
Yes.
They conveniently forgot about it when they said, oh, there's no policy. And frankly, there's no policy now. This guy does nothing but sit up there and hide. And then when he gets on, it's always like, oh, well, I was misunderstood. I didn't mean it. Look we just had 9 people die in a fire. I watched the fire marshal and the DA. It's an election year. The DA is over. Oh, we're commissioned by law. Well, you know what else you're commissioned by? You should have known what the 1710 standard was. The fire chief should have been fighting for it, and I'm not absolving him of any blame either. He should have been bitching right from the get-go in a city like this, and it's getting worse because they're filling up all this market rate housing with illegals. I know they are. And there are going to be a lot more fires in this city because they don't know what fire codes are. They don't care about fire codes. They're pretty good at shooting an ICE agent in the face when they try to mug them. But they're not good at that stuff. So we're going to have a lot more fires. We have a population, a hidden population. We're probably well over 100,000 now. And yet we're not going to have a fire department. And when the fire marshal got on there, he started quoting what the law requires him to do during an investigation. Well, I have to do this, and I have to look at that, and I have to do this, and I have to look at that. Well, there's also a standard for manning. And that's the most important thing. All the rest of the things, bullshit. Post-fire investigations. You know what? Too late. I did thousands of them. Too late. It's easy to figure out where a fire started. Really easy to figure out where a fire started. It's really easy to figure out where you look at a burn pattern. You know where accelerants were used when you know how to do the job. Not a big deal. So there's somebody smoking with an oxygen tank. I had a woman on Kilburn Street that, fortunately, it was very close to the fire station. We got there as her nightgown was on fire because she was smoking a cigarette with a nose cannula and she melted the thing. And she had to go to the hospital. But it's unfortunate, but these things happen. So what's the most important thing to protect the citizens of Fall River? That we have enough personnel to be as efficient as possible. They're trained well enough tactically, and we have enough men to execute rescue when we get there. Everything that's humanly possible. Response time and manning And that's the thing they're talking about the least now. Everybody wants to talk, oh, we finally found a cause. Big freaking deal. Big freaking deal. And if the fire marshal wants to come down a bitch and say, okay, why can you say that? Because I'm a court certified expert in determining cause and origin. That's why I can say that. Don't give me that bullshit. That's not hard. It's hard when a mill burns down and it's pancaked and you have to take it out layer by layer. You may never find that thing. But in a normal building, burn patterns, depth of char, there's a whole bunch of other scientific things that I can go to because, I took the time to actually learn my job. And I had to take a test for it to at least show that I have I know the laws. I may not enforce, but then what I do with it is different. But this is the whole problem. This guy is an absolute buffoon. A buffoon. He's a clown. He's like a court jester. He isn't the mayor. He's a court jester. He never earned a damn thing in his life. Ever. He couldn't make principal, and he got rid of the woman that said, look, I can't make you principal. You can't run a school. So that's why he came back to get on a school committee. And boy, that was the worst mistake that ever happened. Yeah, look, we didn't have enough manpower at the scene. Could they have saved anybody? Everybody, I doubt it. Because of the circumstances and because of the response. But when they got there, they called everybody they could. But the problem was there an incident commander? Was there chaos on the fire ground, or was it an orderly option? You have to listen to the tape. I'll let you listen to the tapes. They are available and make a decision. But the fact is, when you have all right, Stevie, you're on a roll today. Okay. Yeah, that's a day. I've heard that joke before, but it does fit well. Yeah, but you got to have bodies to rescue people. And like I said, this is not theoretical. This is a fact. I told you when I was first got on a job, we had between 285 and 300. We fluctuated based on retirements. We went to fires. We never had a problem laddering buildings, and we had fires with multiple people hanging out windows, and we laddered every building. We had a fire on Rock Street. We pulled 12, 14 people out of that building, and they were hanging they weren't hanging all at the same window either. But we had enough manpower to begin to ladder that building based on which was the most urgent. And then we called, as soon as we got on the scene, we called for extra help, and it got there. But like the analogy I used on a football game, Paul Coogan wants the fire department to play a football game with 3 people against 11. Then by the fourth quarter, he may or may not give them 11. But then again, he may give them the last 3 or 4 over a 10-year period. And by that time, they will not have a winning season for a decade. This guy's a moron. And he doesn't care about lives. He doesn't care about the people. He doesn't care about the taxpayer. He said it. My banker friends, my developer friends, my lawyer friends, my rich friends. That's who I talk to. And they don't care about this. No. Well, you're right, Nelson. I mean, that's 100% right. A mayor's supposed to know, especially a mayor that says that, he wants to protect his citizens. The first thing he should look at when he gets into office is to ensure that the staffing levels, the people on the line. You see, I'm not talking about office personnel. I'm not talking about people, in the booking room in police. Or something like that. But he's got to make sure we got enough police officers on the streets. Okay, I'm going to read you Mayor Paul Coogan's transition team draft, which means there's plenty of room for improvement and modification. Integrity And a well-run, well-organized city government are the Coogan's administration's highest priorities. This is the foundation on which we can continue to build a clean, safe, and financially sound city, none of which he has. The city's filthy. It's not safe, fire or crime, and it's not financially sound. Transparency, no, that's gone. Accountability, that's gone. Ethical standards, that's gone. That will be the foundation of this administration. Then he wants to face the many unique challenges. Educational attainment levels, they haven't improved at all in 6 years. And he's a school teacher. He was a school. Oh, well, whatever. Well-functioning city, vibrant neighborhoods. Look, this is nauseating. You read this, this is like somebody that can actually write, because Paul probably can't write either. He doesn't know numbers. He can't articulate a sentence, and he probably can't put a coherent sentence together. So I know he didn't write this. I read one sentence, and I know that Coogan didn't write this. One of his cronies did, who can actually put together a reasonable sentence. And it's you know, I mean, and I'm gonna, any candidate that wants this can have it. I will give them a copy. If you want to take Paul Coogan's words and slap him severely about the head and the shoulders with his own words, you just let me know. I will make sure you get a copy, because I mean, I'm just fed up. I'm sorry. I mean, I've been in politics my whole life. I've been dealing with politicians my whole life. I never, you know, and I know how ridiculous they are, but I've never seen anything like this. I'm not being melodramatic. Oh, Stevie, give me a break.
We got the comedy hour going on here.
Yeah, we gotta have a little levity to keep from crying. But I'm glad to see.
We'll go watch you. Hey, I want to finish this bit from the Herald on the candidates, because I want to do the last one they did. This month, Sylvia, the owner of Christopher's Cafe on South Main Street, pursued a campaign and joined the race with weeks to spare, stating in a July 21st Facebook post that he would be embarking on yet another journey to do the right thing for our city and its people. Again, no plan. No plan.
Yeah, do the right thing. Do the right thing. In order to do the right thing, all you have to do is look no farther than Washington, D.C. The Democrats are still complaining about the border being closed. Hunter wants to bring all the murderers and rapists back from El Salvador and invade El Salvador if he became president. Listen, you don't have to like everything Trump says or does, but you know, a country is defined by its borders, and every country should have a secure border. Economically, he's bringing billions of dollars. You know, they said his plan wouldn't work, but they're resisting him because they're entrenched politicians of both parties. You even have Republican people working, claiming they do not want to clean up the swamp, and Paul Coogan does not want to clean up the mini swamp that Fall River has become under him. All these people are making money up the wazoo.
And they're
getting all kinds of insider deals, insider trade. The same people all the time. You know, it's like, and the taxpayers taking it. Not one tax. You know, all we get is tax increases, taxing, and this guy does nothing. I mean, he's just. I mean, it's just batshit crazy what's going on here.
The selfie queen. You're talking about Chris.
Yeah. Well, listen.
The sad part about it is, and I got to make this perfectly clear.
Yeah.
There's enough information being spread on social media about allegedly the real Christopher Sylvia. Okay? And the consistent story about him is, if he doesn't like what you have to say, if you have a different opinion, if you fight him, if you ask him any questions, he will immediately block you. He can't do that. He can't. He's a politician now. He's running for office. You don't get that option. But I'm going to tell you now, he did say, I am going to keep my cafe open. Now, here I go again. Here I go again. He's going to keep his cafe open. Meanwhile, he had to close 2 cafes because he's the only one that does the cooking. So, is he going to be a part-time mayor? I guess so, because he's going to keep the cafe open, and he's the only one that does the cooking. So he's going to be a part-time mayor. Do you remember a specific mayoral candidate who said something about being a ceremonious mayor?
Oh, yes.
Not too long ago.
I remember that vividly.
Not too long ago.
You know, yeah, he was going to keep his business open, and he ruled the day. But
That's
see,
right.
the thing is, Paul is a full-time man because he's got nothing better to do. He wanders around and but look, this is what I get. You get a businessman. We've had businessmen run the city. Bob Correa took over, and Bob Correa, unfortunately, and he was a friend of mine. I know him very well. He was very close to one of my aunts and their family. As a matter of fact, my cousin was in charge of his office when he was a state rep for 30 years, and then she was his secretary when he became mayor. Bob was a sharp guy. Bob's a sharp guy, and he knows stuff. But he's personality-wise, he's kind of dictatorial. He spent too much time in Boston. He thought he was the Speaker of the House where he could just demand everything from everybody. He didn't have a good he wasn't like Tip O'Neill, who was a typical real great politician. He would greet everybody in Harwich when he walked down the street and shake hands, make them feel like they meant something. You know, Bob got off on a bad foot. And isn't it ironic that it was the brother of this guy who led the charge to get rid of Correa, because Correa was actually beginning. He knew what the city had to do to turn around. He called in Alan Sylvia. He looked at the numbers. And then what did he do? He said, pay freezes, all these department heads have to have their performance reviewed. You're going to have to take a pay cut. The city's, we have to get the city back on its feet. And they bounced them because they don't want this. The problem is that this is why we keep telling you to go vote. Regular people have to go to the polls, because what it said over in that book over there in my thing, in The Untold Story of Labor, and I'm paraphrasing, when the man said, one of the richest people in the country at the time in the 1800s said, we elected a Republican governor on the West Coast, the Democratic governor on the East Coast. We own every congressman and senator, and we don't care who's in the White House. We are the rich, and we control this country, and we're never letting it go. Same thing in Fall River. Look at who's making the money, and look at even people who are not making money are now making money. Now they're getting into businesses. You go to law school, you're going to be a lawyer. Oh, no, all of a sudden I'm going to become a market rate developer. Where? Oh, in a place I work at that only deals with market rate development. And I'm going to get a TIF, and I'm going to get everything. And this is what this city is locked down. I mean, if the FBI ever finds out all the crap that they're doing here, and they should, we see the same people getting everything at the expense of the people. And listen, I don't care if they get their piece of a pie, but I know two things. The average person and the taxpayer are getting screwed. And secondly, that competition breeds a better economy for a city, a state, and a country. Look at what Trump's doing now, making deals. You may not like him, but he's making deals, and we're getting money, and he's doing well. We've had the largest wage growth and actually working man's increase in 20 years, because it's about the people. And the people have to get these people out, because the big money men want the big money men. No, during his tenure as a teacher, asked the kid to prove the law of gravity. The kid threw the teacher out the window. Oh, Jesus. Okay, Steve. Yeah. But no. Really?
Tell us who, Scott. We want to know.
Well, listen, reality is that this is the problem with politicians. Number one, they have no loyalty to anybody but their donors and themselves. Because remember, when they go to Washington, they go to Congress to put on a show. When they leave Congress, senators and congressmen spend 50% of their time trying to raise funds for their party, and the other 50% of the time trying to raise funds for themselves. Any constituent service they give you is purely coincidental and always much better during an election year. You see Healy's push popping up everywhere. Yeah. I could make a guess. I know who the Republican. There are not a lot of Republicans in this city, and I know one who is a registered Republican. But this is the problem. They're not even good politicians in Fall River. You know something? The great politicians would not block you. They would give you what most good politicians do that stay elected, and that's give you lip service and a pile of bullshit. Because that's what they do. You know that, CJ. Yeah. You never saw a good politician blow somebody off that was a constituent. They will, it's like, oh, that's the new Democratic strategy now. They want everybody that disagrees with them to be killed, but that's another story. But you could go up and tell them the most ridiculous thing, and they really go, oh, that's very interesting. Oh, I'm going to check into that. Oh, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Hey, 4 years ago, I called our illustrious congressman, Mr. Auchincloss, about an issue for retirees. His aide, oh, yeah, very interesting. Yeah, that's really good. Oh, yeah, well, that sounds really interesting. Okay, yeah, oh, good. I'll let the congressman know. You know what I've heard since? Crickets. Probably called up Coogan and said, who's this guy? Coogan said, stay away from him. I had something that needed to be addressed. You don't get any, but they give you the lip service. Oh, you were going to look into it. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It's like, okay, let's use a current example. They had a big concert to raise money for fire victims in LA. Did you hear about that one, CJ?
Yes, I did.
And they had Stevie Wonder and Rod Stewart and every name in a book at that concert. And they raised hundreds of millions of dollars. And now the story just broke. One of the fire victims, who's still been waiting for months for a permit that Gavin said, and the mayor, Bass Rutten. No, that's not, I don't want to insult Bass Rutten. No, but Karen Bass said they were going to expedite. They didn't expedite it. They don't give a damn. But one of the people who was a victim called and said, where's the money available? I haven't gotten any money. There were hundreds of millions of dollars raised by this organization. And then they found out. The woman told them, oh, we don't give out that money. We gave all that money to NGOs. And you know what NGOs are? They're the ones that give $8 billion for teaching chanting in Bangladesh and they gave him $1 billion, and they give him this is what when they Doge stuff, and we were talking about it in other countries, but all those NGOs help these illegals come in, and they're all connected to politicians. They gave it to the NGOs to dispense. So who do you think they're dispensing it to? Not the fire victims. And every one of those NGOs has a board of directors and a president that's making millions of dollars in salaries. This is what they do. But the Hollywood actors don't care. They did their little thing in front of a camera, and so now they can virtue signal and say, well, we had a big concert to raise money. The fact that the money never got there, like nobody ever got to East Palestine for over a year because it was a Republican city. This is the way the government works. And the only way to change it is for the people who, there are more of us than there are of them, to show up and outvote these idiots.
That's my big concern over the Gabriel House fire. Okay?
Uh-oh. What are you? You're reading something I can't read. What is it?
No.
Oh.
I just read, you're right, I was reading something. I just read of a gentleman who's a survivor from the Gabriel House fire he's moving into an apartment. And he needs small appliances, toaster, blender, whatever the case may be, and some everyday household items, some furniture, some different things. And the person who posted it, the name is Fontaine, said, do not give this stuff to Catholic charities. They're too busy.
Too busy for fire victims.
They're too busy.
Yep.
Okay? And we've just raised over almost $150,000 total with all the GoFundMe's and everything else of this. If a victim is getting an apartment, they shouldn't have to be begging for a toaster. They should be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm a victim from the fire. This is my name. I need a toaster for my new apartment because I'm getting an apartment. Can you either buy me the toaster or give me the money to buy the toaster? That money was raised for them, not to sit in a bank account. Listening, Chris? Listening, Mr. Sylvia? Mayoral candidate with no plan? I want to know.
Well, what concerns me about the Gabriel House is just that, and also the fact that they basically already abandoned the actual root cause to avoid this again, having a repetition of this by manning our apparatus properly.
Right.
Coogan's going to take 10 years to put 10 people on, and we're still going to be 12 men below what we need. Right. I mean, the absurdity of that statement.
And remember, Paul said only when the chief put in for 5 men on the SAFER grant. Paul said no, 2. The city allowed for 2. Okay? And Linda, as for my brother's keeper, the victims should not be going to my brother's keeper and begging for furniture. Okay? There's money out there. Where's that money? I want to know.
All right, I got a 2 slice here, and I got a 4 slice here on Amazon and stuff like that. I mean, we're talking about zillions of dollars we raised. These toasters are like 25, 30, 40 bucks for
what I'm saying.
I mean, listen, this is outrageous because listen, this is all politics. It's an election year. They're all running in front of a microphone talking about things. Is this scam likely? Yeah, you're right. It is a scam. But, nobody's talking about, number one, as we said on our first show, the first thing should have been about the victims and about the people who survived it. The second is about the manning on the fire department. and the work that the fire and police did. But now we're gonna deflect everything. Oh, we're gonna talk about the fire cause. Well, every fire has a cause. Some are accidental, some are intentional.
Yeah, and this one here is now going as undetermined. The state fire marshal came up with 2 possible causes, but it's undetermined
because he can't get the one.
That's right.
It has to remain undetermined. But that's another thing for insurance companies too. And the thing is, today they don't want to take any responsibility. In the old days, if you and like I said, I was a court recognized expert, but when I went to court, I had to prove my finding, because the other lawyer would say, well, how do you know it was that? Well,
thank you, Brenda. We needed to know who had control of all of the money.
Okay, well,
them I trust. Them I trust.
Them I trust. So,
but obviously, the fire victims don't know who to go to get assistance. So maybe they need to make it clear to the fire victims and on social media where to go.
But see, my point is, that we've lost sight of the real issue here. We know why it happened now. We know what the cause of the fire was, but that's not the issue. You're looking at why did this happen? The why. Not what, the why. Why? Why did we were undermanned? There were a lot of things that went wrong. We were undermanned, first of all, and there are issues that are going to come forward. But let's keep those 2 things in the forefront of every conversation. That is, the victims, the residents of that facility, and the fact that we need to man our fire department. It's funny because you said that, because I ran into a guy that I know that also knows a firefighter. He was actually the vice president of the union with me for a while. And it was funny because he said, oh, yeah, he said, they're still fighting about manpower. Chipper was fighting. We were fighting for that 25 years ago. We went in front of the council and all of the fiascos we had. We were fighting all the time. But this is it. Remember the story I told on the first story about Frank Candeas, that Candeas Fire Station on Plymouth Avenue was named after. He died at 555 Middle Street because he had an air tank with no warning bell. He ran out of air. They weren't mandatory at the time. The city wouldn't pay for warning bells. They were too expensive. Had a firefighter die at a fire. They still didn't buy the bells. Then when a firefighter outside of Boston died, a little rich town, they changed the law. They made it mandatory. And the only reason we ever got bells on the tanks is because they made it a statute.
No, you're right, Jimmy. It is a HIPAA issue. HIPAA was put in place for good reasons, and it's health insurance portability is what that was about. But they put a lot of regulations in there which tie the hands of people.
HIPAA. Yeah, and you know HIPAA very well because you deal with it all the time. So.
Yeah.
But listen, it's not rocket science. Look, if these people that were living in that facility need something, and rather than having a press conference for them to deflect everything and bullshit and have Coogan say, oh, in 10 years, you'll only be 12 men under if I stay the mayor for the next 50 years. I'll put on 1 man a year for the next 10 years and we'll still be 12 people. But so it'll take us 25 years to get to the manning standard for today, which by that time we'll need more people because who knows. But the reality is that what we should be dealing with is you have to find a cause. It's mandatory by statute. You have to determine the cause of a fire. An arson fire or an undetermined fire has to be reported within 24 hours to the state fire marshal's office. A accidental fire, a fire which is determined to be accidental, you don't have to report it within 24 hours. So you can file the report later. but it's mandatory that those things are reported. Okay, those are all things that have to be done, and they're being done by, they have to be done by the fire department, they have to be done by whoever. What it must be done by the community, and what should have been done by the mayor, is have a concentrated effort to make sure that every surviving resident is being taken care of now. And that we get manning on our trucks now. Not in 10 years, Paul. How about if we underman your school department? How would you like that with all your jobs that you gave out to your friends? How about if we cut all those? You won't like that, huh? You want more than sufficient manning over there. You got 4 people doing the work of 1. No more oil changes, though. But this is the whole thing. This is infuriating. Those people should have been the highlight. We should have, somebody should be a liaison. He should have appointed somebody to be a liaison between that facility, the people there, and we should be making sure that these people get everything they need. I went to thousands of fires, and the Red Cross shows up. We make sure they get temporary housing and stuff like that. They board up the building.
3 days at a hotel. 3 days at a hotel.
Yeah, that's right. But then after that, they need other support. And this is it. What did our mayor do? What did our mayor do? He's in front of a microphone going, I was misunderstood. Oh, I don't really know. I'm a vice principal. Oh, me, oh, my. I'm just incompetent. But you know something? I don't care about those people. They're not, okay, they're here. But where? Why didn't the city do why didn't the city mayor, the head of the city, immediately take somebody from City Hall and say, I'm sending somebody down there. I'm coordinate with all these people. I want the names. I want to know where they are, make sure they're safe, and make sure that we get some care until we can stabilize their lives. They have just suffered a horrifying, traumatic incident. And to just abandon them. Yeah, well, if that's the case, more people will die because he's an incompetent asshole. And he will be the mayor. Well, he will be the mayor if people that vote for him and don't care about the other people. Well, that's up to the people. The people will find out. We shall see. We shall see. But I'm going to tell you one thing. You can't refute his own words. You can't refute his own words. He's an admitted moron. How about giving him enough men to man all the trucks? Well, let's hope so. But like I said, unfortunately, listen, Paul Coogan wouldn't have lasted more than one term in the old Fall River. But the people moved out. We've got Carlton Viveris very rarely raised taxes and never in an election year. We had surplus money everywhere. Lambert didn't raise taxes every year. They all didn't because people in Fall River used to go to vote, and now they've all moved to Somerset, Swansea, Rehoboth, Dartmouth, wherever, Padnaram, whoever. They don't live there. I know the fire chief, I believe, lives in Somerset. I don't know where the police chief lives. Probably is in Fall River, but I don't know. But when I got on a job, 95% of the Fall River firefighters lived in the city of Fall River by choice, because there was no residency requirement. You could live within 10 miles of the city, but they lived here by choice. I would say now, conservatively, I would be very, very surprised if 15% of the department lives in the city. Same thing with the police. Same thing with every department. Same thing with most of the people who got the big money jobs in Fall River. How many people? We know that Seth Akins, with the great job he did, didn't live here. We know that most of the people we hired do not live in Fall River, in spite of the fact that the charter says they should. This is, again, Paul will be mayor. Well, that's because there are a lot of people who are just like him. They're either self-serving or they're nitwits. Because you want a mayor that admittedly doesn't know anything. I'm bad with numbers. I'm bad with I'm misunderstood. Well, that's not the sign of a leader. That is not the sign of a leader.
Jay, I appreciate you saying that we should run, but I have run for office in this city. Okay? And the problem is that the voter apathy is so bad, they don't come out and vote. And you can buy a vote in Fall River.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Jay.
The first time I ran for office, I got maybe 2,000 votes. The second time I ran, I fed them. I gave them all fried chicken dinners. All of them. I got 5,000 votes.
Well, I never
about the people of Fall River.
Well, I never ran because I was running a union and fighting the city all the time. And we actually, in the old days, had councils that were at least semi-decent in controlling the mayor. They weren't rubber stamps like we have now. And I'll tell you what, I would run, but I'm too damn old now for this shit. And I'm not going to get on a council until the people of Fall River. Could I get elected? Probably. I have a lot of people in this city that know us. We could probably get elected. But I give Michelle Dion all the credit in the world. I could not deal with that shit. I could not go into a city council meeting knowing that the other 8 councilors are going to shit all over me when I fight for the people of Fall River. That I'm never going to win a vote, no matter how right I am.
That's right.
I could not do that. I'm sorry. I can't do that.
Especially the guy in the right hand.
That's the reason.
The guy in the right hand. The guy in the right hand saying everything you want to hear. Argue in the same position you are, and then all of a sudden he says, no.
Yeah.
Give you the finger.
Well, look, that's what I said. Listen, that's why I chose to be a pain in their ass for the last 40 years.
That's why I like doing it too.
More outside the council than this council has ever done. I'm the guy that got the health care in Fall River. Everybody forgot that. They were going to go to the GIC, which is over $200 million in the hole. And I told the mayor then, and after Mike Coogan, Paul Coogan's brother, sold the unions down the river and convinced them to go to GIC, that they would get it tucked up their shorts if they went there. And I went to the council, and at 11 o'clock at night, the mayor called me. I went down to City Hall, and I explained why plan modeling was better. And I gave them the numbers. And we still got it today. And we got the best healthcare plan in the state. One of the most reasonable healthcare plans in the state. I did that without getting elected. I got that by going in there and being a pain in their ass. Did the same thing with the retirement. Because you can't, until people, and at one time it was, 50-50, they might do the right thing. Now it's 99-1. This guy has got a council that is just like him. They're nothing more than obsequious lackeys. And you think I'm going to get elected to go in there and sit in that? I don't have the temperament for that.
Neither do I.
But I would freaking lose it.
They would have to take me out.
They would have to take me out
in subcommittee meeting for an hour and change, and I left because if I had been asked to speak like I was supposed to, every other word out of my mouth would have been an F-bomb, and it would have been directed at specific school committee members.
Listen, they won't even let us speak, but they always mention the name. Now, I used to go down there and make fairly long presentation. I had one guy complain because they gave me so much time, but I was giving him real numbers. I was the guy that made him put 40 million in the budget, 39 instead of 45. I was the one that texted the city councilors to tell them that they were getting bullshit numbers, but they couldn't figure that out. But the fact is that now they don't want us down there. They're not going to extend my time to talk. I don't even bother going down. I sent them this letter that I sent to Coogan telling them the health care, they were going to be short of money 6 years ago. I was on his transition team. Big mistake. And what did he do with it? Wiped his ass with it. And he also got something from the transition team telling them about the money on the trash pickup. This is why you don't run for office, because we can't get a council anyway. We need to have a 1995. We got some candidates. I'll tell you what. I don't care if I'm Methuselah. If we get a good turnout this year and we bounce and we elect a whole bunch of new people, and you show me that you'll go to the polls and give me some help on that council, I'll get on a council. Because why should I go there, give them all the right numbers, and have them ignore it? Because that's what they do.
That's exactly what they do.
They ignore the number. You tell them that's a lie. Remember the time I went back, CJ, when you and I we went up and made a presentation, and then Seth Akins got up there and said, "Don't listen to them," and I had to go back to the council and tell the council, "You can't say that to me. I'm a taxpayer. I have a constitutional right to come down here, and you have an obligation to listen to me. You don't have to agree with me, but you have to listen to me." And Seth Akins was way out of line doing that. And then he said, it's up to him to convince you. It's not up to him to convince you. It's up to him to give you accurate numbers, which he doesn't. And then, I had an altercation with him before.
I know you did. I was there.
And afterwards, I told him. Because he asked me, you got something to say? I said, yeah, I got plenty to say, and I'm going to say it in front of the council. I said, but then when I got out, I said, no, you heard what I got to say. Now, do you have any more questions? Did I make it clear enough for you too? I made it clear enough for the council. Did I make it clear enough for you? And he went, point taken. But he still went out and got into a crooked deal with another city employee. So what good does it do? We got a corrupt city. We got to get rid of it. We got to get rid of the rot. We got to start electing regular people. You got
the problem is that we move them from one to the other.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. Stevie hit it right on the head. Yep.
Yep. We move them from one to the other. Some started in the school committee, then they went to the city council.
And some went back and forth.
Some went back and forth. Okay. But you've got people that are still on the council 30 plus years, 20 plus years, 15 plus years. And the same shit is still going on. Whose fault is that? It's not mine.
Well, it's theirs.
I don't know that.
Well, that's the irony of it. You talk about shoveling shit against the tide. How many times has Linda said in those 30 years, did you check those numbers with Chipper? Did you ask Chipper? But then again, they did. Asked and answered, and then they ignored the numbers anyway.
That's right.
So that's the thing. That's the frustration that we have. This is why we do what we do. I would rather be a pain in their ass for the rest of my life than go in there and shovel shit against the tide. Look, I'll fight anytime. But if you're going to tell me that the judges have already got their scorecards filled out, that I'm going to lose every fight even when I'm right,
why bother?
Why bother? I'm not going to take my time, do the research I do. I would rather come on this show and educate the people and say, look, if you're not smart enough now to take this information, when you got a mayor that gets in front of a camera and says, I'm stupid, I was just the vice principal. I'm supposed to know about this shit? Yes, you are. You're the mayor. The buck stops there. Harry Truman. The buck stops there. You got to learn. Why does a president have a cabinet? You think any president knows everything about finances? No, they get a guy like we got that Bissett. The guy's a billionaire, right? How did he make billions of dollars? By really being smart. And he wasn't a billionaire to start off with. They get people in their cabinet who are experts at different things, and they get the information they need, but they educate themselves so they at least have a working knowledge of everything that's going on in their city. Coogan does not make an honest attempt to do anything except give everybody he knows a freaking job.
That's it.
And make all his friends money.
I hear you there. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday. Have a great day. And remember, it's going to be hot tomorrow and really hot on Friday. So
hydrate,
and stay cool. Have a good week.